On July 13th, 2024, every single one of you will remember where you were when you heard the words, President Trump has been shot. And of course, we would like to extend our condolences to the family of Corey Comperatore, the former fire chief who lost his life simply because he was sitting in the audience. And while the questions swirl and conspiracy theories are going to abound, how was this allowed to happen? Why was this rooftop that was only 150 yards away not covered? The coming weeks, months, and undoubtedly years will reveal a lot more information than we have now. And so, even though I am usually very conspiratorial as well, I'm not going to indulge in that now. This is one of those moments, if you've ever had a near miss, say, driving, that was so close and would have been so catastrophic, you have to pull over to the edge of the road to collect yourself. Or if you've ever been at a party when you were young and everybody was super drunk, and then all of a sudden, some guy that does something extra stupid hurts himself real bad, and you find that everybody sobers up quick. We need to get help. Something just happened so bad that there's a collective slow exhale in America, because but for a couple of inches maybe, we would be living in a very different world today. Very different world, not just America. And the reason is these political figureheads, and while we may mock them mercilessly, we may criticize them endlessly, which is all well and fine and good and necessary, it also is worth recognizing that these individuals, whether it's Obama or Trump or I suppose even Biden, represent the interests of millions of people. Now, we're going to argue with them, but the fact is that that person exists. Millions of people feel that their voices are being heard. Millions of people are feeling that they're being represented, and that keeps things calm. That keeps the temperature down to angry words, because if people feel they have no means of expression, no means of exerting any sort of power or political control over their own lives, they don't just disappear. They look to other means. So I posted this is fine dog, which you probably have all seen, and I say, too many people I know have been this stupid dog for too long now, despite our best attempts to wake them up. We need to face just how close we came today to losing America. What it would be right now, but for an inch, is real. The Republic stands on the edge of a knife. And but for that inch, we don't know what would be going on right now. We don't know who would still be with us and what exactly would be going on. We know the ammo sites are crashing. We know the armed half of the population is on red alert. This is what so many people have been predicting, so many people have been warning about. It was the most obvious thing in the world, and yet it still somehow happened. In the immediate aftermath, it was said that a lot of the Trump supporters at the rally turned to the media and said, "This is your fault. This is your fault this just happened." And it's hard to argue with. I mean, you can see a lot. You can feel the temperature going down in the political discourse right now. The rhetoric that has been used and been acceptable needs to change. And you can see this in a lot of people, like even Van Jones, I think, realized, like, like if this gets out of hand, none of us are safe, right? Like a lot of these representatives, like, ooh, yeah, all it takes is one wacko, and there's a lot of arms and ammunition out there. We don't actually want to get this to where it boils over. But then that seems to be exactly what the media has wanted, with the endless comparisons to Trump to the bad man from World War II. Oh, look, he's evil Mr. Mustache. Like, this stuff needs to stop. Those comparisons were never relevant, and yet you got these low information voters throwing around this rhetoric. They have no idea what it means. You've got the major news publications putting he's a racist, bigot, homophobe after every article about the guy. And even in the immediate aftermath of an attempt on his life, you get idiotic takes like this, if you didn't believe that the mainstream media gaslit us, or you thought there was still some semblance of legitimacy in the mainstream media, take a look at some of these headlines. CNN, Trump injured in incident at rally. LA Times, Trump whisked off stage in Pennsylvania after loud noises rang through the crowd. CNN Politics, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. USA Today, Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president. And of course, I could do this all day and you could do this all day. This is our media. Our media is trash. And that's why the media, we cannot mock them enough. We cannot mock them hard enough. Babylon Bee was on it in an instant, saying, Trump indicted for inciting assassination attempt. Ha ha. And my new favorite satirical website, the Daily Gondor, absolutely nails it with this quip. Rattling noises heard across the Pelennor fields. Men and horses fell. Reckless galloping and natural causes blamed as a Herodrum Oliphant entertainment parade is violently disrupted. King Theoden is believed to have instigated the stampede, many injured. But I do believe there was a significant change yesterday. It was a seismic change, and it was a change in the culture. It will no longer be socially taboo to express support for Donald Trump in public, and it is now the cultural left that is on the defensive for the first time in decades. There was this post by Fisher King here where he says it's still going to be very close, decided by a few 10,000s of votes in a handful of states. The division is structural, impossible for a Republican to win California, and the media will try to memory hold us, downplay it. This isn't a coal post, it's really just a reminder not to get complacent. They created a situation where someone tried to end Trump and came within 2 to 3 inches of succeeding. If you think they're now going to accept defeat, that's delusional and the structural advantage. To which I respond, the structural advantage may be theirs, but I believe there was a seismic shift in the culture today. There's a lot of nonsense word spell tactics and gaslighting that we've just kind of had to shoulder and, make fun of the media, that finally people are ready to stand up and say, no more of this. You can't say that, because it's exactly this sort of rhetoric and this sort of approach that took us to the very brink, to an inch of what you would say is unthinkable, but it really is important to think about exactly what would have happened in that aftermath, because it would have been terrible. America would have fallen into the abyss. And I can see it even in the shift in a lot of people's attitudes, a lot of fence sitters, a lot of people that, Trump's been to the wall. He was Mr. Warp Speed. I get all those criticisms. But sometimes you got to zoom out and look at things from the 10,000 foot level. Look, you're getting our greatest ally as our greatest ally for the near-term future, no matter who gets in office. There's no way around that. But I still want to live in a country with a functional infrastructure and indoor plumbing. And you can see even the normies are scared. My mom, I would say, is like Mrs. MK Ultra. She believes absolutely everything the media has told her to believe for every day of her 75 years on this earth. And she was rattled. All of a sudden, the eye rolling and stuff, and my dad for being Mr. Conspiracy, well, it wasn't funny anymore. It wasn't cringy and just, he's a kook in his old age. It was like, that was really close, wasn't it? It's like, yeah, that was real close, Mom. And it's the normies. It's the ones that watch maybe 1 or 2 minutes of news per week that are waking up to this reality. We can tweet on X and we can post videos on YouTube, and this stuff has been happening for years, but there's people that just don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be scared out of their comfort, because this is fine. Life just goes along like it always has. This is fine until 1 second it isn't anymore. Her first reaction was, what do? Should we turn on the television? And I said, no, we are not turning on the television. We're done with television. And I think that's the takeaway. I've been trying to kind of get away from politics more because I've been trying to focus on things I can control: diet, exercise, spiritual growth, financial matters, things that you and me as individuals that are relatively powerless can focus on in our own lives to make our lives better. And then politics happens, and it's an event that would have been so big that all the push-ups in the world wouldn't have made things okay. So say a prayer for those we've lost. Take a moment to reflect how close this call really was. Boycott the media. Boycott these institutions that hate us. Boycott and walk away as much as you can from all of these nonsense factories, these liars and manipulators, and where you can't mock them mercilessly. The cultural winds have shifted. We saw how far they are willing to go, and we cannot let them keep the ring of power.